That want what?
You want to have a job.
Am I the only one that's gonna actually eat
Let's see
lunch?
what this is all about. You know,
So if you're from the Tom Conway School for doing this, it's sign this fucking card.
I always like that
well,
guy.
I'll tell you what, if Tom Conway came with the card, I'd fucking
I
sign
signed
it.
I certainly wouldn't want to upset him.
I mean, you know.
I would not want to experience his wrath.
No, because it takes a lot to get him mad. No one's nice.
Yeah, I would sign it.
I know, it's not the usual suspects.
Hola.
Where's your brown bag at, man?
It's a white bag. You don't discriminate.
My brown. My bag is
I
brown.
should have brought my lunch.
Could have. I ate mine before I got here. I ate my breakfast.
Is anyone sitting here before I sit down?
You might not want to sit there though, because it's
Is anyone
Yeah.
sitting here?
the light might be in your
You,
face.
you might get projected on though.
Oh, is that what it's me?
Yeah, we.
Home here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I don't want to be interfering with that.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll be on camera.
Oh, can I sit here?
I think so.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
This side is the danger zone.
Jeff, they put in new stairs just for you.
They put in new stairs?
They
Oh, did they?
put in new stairs down.
Wow.
So yeah, now you have an exit.
What do you know about this Greenfield Community Association?
Hello. Hey there, how are you? Okay.
We're gonna project on that wall.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, how you doing?
Native Greenfielder, realizing that the Greenfield Community Association is not made up of any native Greenfielders, that's all.
Maybe,
These developers, these people run development companies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Sorry.
I'm interested in hearing more though.
I think that's
Are you speaking?
Oh, hi.
Are you speaking?
I had it covered up for most of the time.
I was like, oh my.
Then the question is, if your organizer are worth 80,000, why aren't we?
Well, that's a great question. You should talk to your local union president about bargaining that.
Well, when it comes up, I'll ask the question.
Congratulations. Yeah, I love the highlights. Looks like you've had him a while. This is the first I've seen you. So, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we're pretty good.
I done got hitched in that.
Where's Brother Jeff? Oh, there he is.
Okay.
You start now or?
Up to you. I'm ready.
Yeah, please, you know.
You can't say that after I just got here. Hi. Is that bad? It's okay. Can I do that? Is anybody against that? Regardless?
Hey, Julie, you were against the
You
wall.
did?
So welcome back for live feed.
So, thank you all.
Oh yeah, sorry.
For coming.
That's not anybody's bag.
How many of you were at that organizing meeting last year on the fourth floor where they pointed at our numbers and all that stuff?
Sorry.
Hey, hey.
Which meeting?
Oh, it is.
What the heck? Look at this.
There's nobody there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Maria and Brother Jeff are going to talk about organizing. We want to test the waters to see if there's interest in having an organizing trained up here that myself and Maria and Steffi have done throughout the the various districts. Because the way we're looking at it is if we don't organize new members, we're not going to have jobs in a couple of years. So with that cheery reminder, Maria,
Thanks.
You do not
I
make
am
it
going to
eat
excite you
in front
guys.
of a computer.
Brett.
Close
Should
the
we
door,
raise it
Maria.
up? No. Should we raise it?
Not that high.
Oh, okay. That good chair?
Yeah, that's good, real good there, Dawn.
Perfect. So I was not at the building presentation. I had done the road shows all around the country last year and missed the building one, but I heard that it was a little depressing. And so as I'm seeing some nods and they went through the numbers.
Organizer guy.
Yeah, it's a little depressing, but you know, so when John asked Steph and I to put something together to talk a little bit about why it's important to organize everyone in this room. You know, you all know, most of you, if you work in accounting on the do side, you know, if you work in, you know, our strategic campaigns, you know, the fights that we're having out in the field all the time. And if you work in organizing, you know how difficult it is for us. And so you all basically, I think, know the premise. But John asked us to put something together that was showing why we needed to organize, not only just for our union, but kind of at a national level. When it was depressing for you guys, it was really looking in at our numbers. You know, really the trend for our union is this. I don't know if Tom actually went over it last year. We're losing for the last 20 years about 2% of our membership a year. We're not organizing even 1% back. That's the reality. Our numbers have declined. Our dues paying membership numbers here on the dues side, I think we're looking at the last board report, it was just a little under 600,000. Now that is only dues payers. That's not those that we're responsible for representing who are non-members. So those numbers aren't included in that, but that's what we have to, that's what we're dealing with. Our numbers are in decline and we need to stop the slide as much as we can. There's been some really good, exciting things that have been happening. Finally, President Obama has come through with an activist labor board. We went through 6 years or 5 years of some pretty hardships with that board. And all of a sudden, in the last 6 months, they're kicking serious ass with decision after decision after decision that has been really good for workers. So that's pumping up some things. But I just wanted to give you a broad overview of what we've been doing, kind of my share of the presentation that John said that Steffi and I and he have been doing and G around the country. And it's a broad overview of just the state of unions in this country. So that's a piece of it. It's, you know, stop me and ask questions. Organizing, why we do it. So this is the presentation I give to members. I'll go quickly through this stuff, but I think you all know this. You know, why do we organize?
Strengthen numbers.
To keep our jobs.
In this building, yeah.
Because people need collective bargaining.
To wage the class war.
To wage the class war. People need us. Workers need us. And it's true. You know, I think that I will absolutely credit Occupy, at least in my experience, Occupy really raising the issue of the 1% versus the 99%. And workers now more than ever really need us. And within this union, Kim is correct in saying that I just said we've lost 2%. We're losing an average of 2% for the last 20 years every year, which is a very, very disturbing number. And really, come on in, Jenna. And really, there's a lot of room for growth. What's the actual percentage of union density in this country?
7%,
Both combined.
11, if you
Yeah.
combine them.
11.1%. That's what we're sitting at. So there's right 89% out there, if I've done my math right, of unorganized workers. There's a lot of room for growth. For us in our union, we've been looking at a lot of different areas for growth, a lot of different professions, industries, and sectors, because we believe that manufacturing is shrinking. Not only we believe it, but the fact is out there. We have to look at new economic growth areas, and we want to take a look at the future of the workforce. If we stay solely focused on manufacturing or industrial organizing, we will go the way of manufacturing and industrial workers in this country, which is not in this country, right? So we have to look at where the future workforce growth is, et cetera. So I do this quiz with the members, and you all may know this, but what's the largest local union that we have in this union?
88.
1944.
Wrong, 8888.
Kaiser, is it Kaiser?
8888, what does 8888 make?
Shipyards.
Right. There are shipyard builders, right? There are nuclear sub folks down in Newport News. There's about 10,000 people on that, well, there were, now they're being sequestered and layoffs are happening, but there's about 10,000 workers there. And we have, at any given time, 6, 7, 8,000 members out of that facility. In this room, I can tell us the truth. We're looking at probably, I say to our membership, we have about 8,000 members down there. In reality, we have anywhere between 6,000 to 7,000 at any given time of membership. But it's also the largest single employer, single local union in the world anymore. That's it. That's the largest local, right? Single employer, single facility.
Wait, for us?
The world, anywhere. Unions don't have big single facilities anymore. They don't have single employers. They don't, they're in multiple sites.
Right.
So it's multiple sites. Newport News is one location, right? Newport News is one location. So that's why it used to be in North America, and then it became, because they were breaking up a lot of these sites, these pockets. And if you've been around since the steel mill, Steffi, when you were in the mill, how big was the mill?
5,500 at Clareton. There was about 10,000 homesteads.
Right.
Another 5 or 6 in GT.
All right, and those are all single facility units. Nowadays, you will never find large single facility units that size at all anymore. So that's, except at the University of Pittsburgh, thank you, which is why we're going after it. But anyway, so that's the largest. The second largest,
University of Toronto.
University of Toronto. And so that's in higher ed, right? There we have, again, it fluctuates, but a little over 6,000, 6,100, 6,200 members at any given time out of the University of Toronto. Third largest local.
Is that Kaiser?
Kaiser, healthcare, 6,000 to 6,100 on there. It's at 3 different locations, 1 local, 3 hospitals, along with some call centers and some clinics, all within a 2-county area. And that's about 6,100 members. Fluctuates again between 6,000 to 6,100 members. So of the 3 largest locals in our union, only one of them is manufacturing. Only one. Second one is higher ed. Third one is healthcare. So when we look at just those numbers themselves, when we say we have to look at new economic growth areas, traditionally, our union already has those industries or sectors in our union, higher ed and education, right? Excuse me, higher ed and healthcare. So they're there. So what we're doing is expanding upon that, that membership that we have. But this is why we need to take a look at it. In Canada, the logo has always been, not always been, but recently in the last 10, 15 years is USW, everybody's union. So one of the things I do is I quiz people, what's the full name of our union? Yeah, right, whatever. But that's the name of our union, and it doesn't even have in here healthcare or higher ed, which are 2nd and 3rd largest locals in our union, right? So people know us as an industrial union, and there's still a ton of membership in there. And this is some of the stuff that I don't know if Tom shared this. I gave him some of these slides. I don't know if he shared them at the meeting with you guys. If this is familiar, tell me to speed up. All right, so anyway, this is our industries. Except for Ebola. These are our industries, and again, this kind of reiterates how many members we have in other non-manufacturing sectors. I usually share this. This is the percentage of our membership in the different sectors that we've got. So you look at it, you don't need to, can you see?
I can see that.
So that's paper. So it's paper. Yeah, 1636. So you see the percentages next to them? So. All right. When we talk about manufacturing in our union, what does manufacturing mean? What are those industries that are represented? Forestry, wood and paper, et cetera. You see it's, we are the predominant union in paper and wood, predominant union in rubber and plastics, predominant union in oil and chemical, predominant union in these other areas. We are the union in the United States and oftentimes in Canada for these manufacturing sectors. So when we say we're the largest industrial union, this is what they're saying. We're not the largest union, but in terms of industry and manufacturing, we're still in the US and Canada, supposedly the largest.
What is the largest one?
Well, there's NEA is really, I would say, the largest union, but I don't know, they would consider themselves a union, so there's always a dispute. But the teachers' unions are the largest that we've got. I think NEA had like 2.1 million or something like that. Are they 3 million? Yeah.
That's
So,
what they said.
right. So they're huge. And then the AFT, and then in terms of larger like teachers unions, SEIU always claims a big number. They're at, I think they're even at 1.7 or something like that million. And then, you've got AFSCME, you've got those other unions. But in terms of traditional manufacturing industrial union, we're the largest. Who was around when they were doing the merger with IAM and UAW? Any of us in this room? You all? All right, so, we were the small union during that time period. And that was some of the disputes, was we were the smaller union during the merger, who was going to be the lead, blah, blah, blah. The three men couldn't put their egos aside. So right now, because of mergers and other relationships, we're larger than both of them right now. Steelworkers are much larger than IAM and much larger than UAW at the moment. So we've grown whereas they've shrunk.
Egos are still there.
Egos are still there. But the IAM president will retire in December. UAW retired. King left a couple, when did Dennis take over? Like 6 months ago. And then, of course, glad you could join us, Ashley. So when we say service sector, this is what we mean. It's transportation. You'll see security services in here. In the United States, we cannot organize true security guards underneath the act. So our security services is a pretty large sector of our service sector, but they're all in Canada. We represent most of the provincial TSA folks in Canada. They're ours. One of our largest locals in Canada is our security local. So they're pretty big. Yes.
So how did like the security guards in different, like at Oak Ridge National Lab, they're all in the guards union. Is that different than security services?
Right. So we cannot represent them underneath the NLRB because the rules are very specific about potential conflict of
Right, so
interest.
they're in a guards union.
Right.
Okay.
And we have a sister guards union that we work with. So if there are guards, and we get lots of guard leads. In fact, I just had a call from Hanford. They just visited, LaVenture was just over in Washington, and they said the security guards want to organize and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so we've given them the contact of our sister union in there. We do have security guards in several facilities. The only barrier for us is if we do it underneath the board. Voluntary recognition, we don't need the board's permission for anything. The employer and the union can agree to represent anybody, right? And so we have agreements with employers that are voluntary recognition for security services. So we do have security within the US, but not underneath the board, because that's illegal.
How does that work with like the police departments that we have too?
They're not security. The police are public sector employees, and it depends on either the county or the state laws, right, that allow it. So they're not considered security guards. They're actually a police force.
Okay.
Yeah, we have lots of ambulances. Actually, it's one of the biggest areas for us too. We just won. So here's kind of the depressing part, right? What's our power look like? Back in 1964, we were doing all right? We were over 30% of the population when you look at union density on this. So here's a map of if I looked at the states. So any state that's in red is 31% or above in union density with the membership. Gold, right? Steel or gold, 21 to 30. We got tan, 10 to 20, and then only one white state, which was 0 to 9%. So 1964 was, you know, we were fairly strong, but strong meant only we were about 33% of the workforce. It wasn't huge, and we were nowhere near 50%. So 1964, we skipped 20 years to 1984. Union density has declined. We have no red states left. Our gold is now, right, where the reds used to be, with more tan, and all of a sudden we got 2 white states on this. What happened in the 80s? Ronald Reagan. That's exactly. Trickle-down theory, trade policy started changing, and Ronald Reagan came into power on this. And honest to God, I just was reliving it when Trump's economic plan came out, right? 2 days ago, and it was all trickle-down theory again. I'm like, really? Anyway, so 1980, right, we had this. We're going to skip another 20 years, 2004. This is what the map looked like in 2004 with union density. Mostly white. We lost most of our gold. They're tan, right? In 20 years, that long-term policy and strategy that was started and initiated by folks against workers was starting to take effect. So over a 20-year period, we saw trade leaving this country, right? And therefore our jobs. A lot of the jobs that left, our unionization rates were high in manufacturing industrial settings. When those entities or those industries started leaving the country, so did union membership. So when people talk about the decline of unionization, they tend to equate it with workers don't want unions anymore because they're irrelevant. They're all those things you hear. Well, it's fucking nonsense. Our membership base didn't leave us. The employers left us. The employers ran out of the country into other countries, taking with them our jobs. And so what you see right here is union membership decline, not because workers didn't want us, but because our employers left because of policy that allowed them to leave. So you see this decline. And what we've got, right, is at least this, we were maintaining this rust belt, right? The rust belt was being maintained because that's right now where a lot of industry traditionally was. Last year's numbers, we skipped 10 years, 2014. Couple more white. We've lost more of the gold. There's only 2 states now, right? New York and Alaska. I mean, Hawaii. Where's Alaska?
Yeah.
So we're in trouble, but what they say is we extrapolated what our numbers would look like if we don't change the pattern, if we don't organize. And we're talking about the entire labor movement, not just the steel workers. But if we don't, the prediction in 10 years, by 2024, this is what the map of the United States is going to look like for union density. Then we're really, really, really in trouble. Because it's not only will we not have relevance in the political arena and the policy discussion, but relevance for workers. We have no power. We're weaker. We can't help the workers as much as we can as if we're, you know, bigger in size and numbers. So that's going to look like if we don't change our model. Not enough yet?
I've never heard it explained that way before. How when the density drops, like I've never actually, I knew that, but I never put the two together. That it wasn't that people didn't want unions; it was that our employers left.
When we say how many jobs do they, Leo always quotes, who's in our communications department here, how many manufacturing jobs have we lost?
At least 3 million
Right.
in the last 10 years, 15 years,
Right.
at least.
And that's where bulk of unionization existed,
Mm-hmm.
right? Was in the industrial sectors.
Yeah.
There's only been a handful of unions that gone after service sector. Like public sector was, you know, done a lot in the 70s, right, mid 70s when they had the rights to organize. But in the public sector, well, service sector, not public sector, service sector, you know, there's only been a handful of unions that have gone after them. Now every union is going after service sector because industrial manufacturing, where our traditional base was all shrunk.
Mm-hmm.
And the jobs are few and far between now, and the threat of moving a company overseas is very real. It's not only permissible, you actually can get tax, you know, I mean, it's encouraged.
Has there been, not just with our union, but with any unions, has there been any success at all with organizing the natural gas sector?
Not as a whole industry, you know.
It's one of the largest employer bases now. I mean,
If
so
you,
many people working in that sector, it seems like they're very good.
and it's very fractured and very subcontracted out. It's a very fractured industry with small employers who have the contracts on that. So you've got crews of 10 or 15 traveling around the country and drilling the wells. And you've got another crew that sets the wells. Then you've got a maintenance crew. So and they're all subcontracted out. Hang on a second, Andy. And then they're all subcontracted out. What we need to go after in this particular model, the only way I can see us doing it is a top-down model, which is from the overall employer who then does all these subcontractings. And so some of our major employers like Shell and some other places would be their way to approach it. You know, I've talked to Gary off and on about it. We have enough problems at our other sites, oil sites, that they're, you know, it's hard for us to have some of that leverage. But it's certainly something both Conway and Beavers have challenged me with. I just don't know how to do it with these small pockets of companies and these small pockets of crews, because no one's home based here. So if you go to the fracking sites around here, you go to the hotels where they stay, you'll see license plates from Texas, you'll see them from all these different places, because nobody's from here. They move from well to well. Right. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I just wanted to basically sum it up. You'll see trucks like Range Resources, they subcontracted out the others. There's so many layers.
Right.
You see trucks that are driving around Bob and Dan's drilling
Right.
company.
Right. Is what? Laborers?
Neighbors, they're huge.
Oh. Oil and gas company. Yeah. I mean, I think there's pockets for us with employers. We've done some initial research and we've looked at a geographic site. So for example, in the Dakotas, right?
Like you were saying, if we can approach the employer and show them that there's a lot of things that, like the trainings and all there's a high cost for them to get people onto these sites. And if that's something like with other like pipe fitters and carpenters and all these other unions that do all the training stuff, if we can show them that even still, I mean,
where we have broken into the sector and why we, because of our friendships and relationships with the environmentalists, have not come straight out. And what we've done though, when we look at fracking, we look at, for chemical sectors, the byproducts of it, and how do we organize the companies, the chemical companies that are getting the byproducts of it. So that's kind of where we're looking at, as opposed to crews and people who do the drilling. The other issue that we look at is the pipe and everything that's the hardware that's required for the actual drilling, and then the removal of the product is through pipe. And so we've looked at that to see how we can kind of bridge the gap for our employers, or go after employers who are making the pipe for us, because that's a natural fit for us, right? Is the downstream or upstream manufacturing of those things and of those hardware that they need, and then the downstream of the chemical byproducts that we can use more than we're looking at crews. So those are places that are facilities with actual employees. That is a natural relationship for us and our membership. That's kind of where my head is with this, and begun to look at it that way. And it's the one that makes sense for us the most. Yeah, I mean, we had issues, right? But it's a way to connect our policy and our area of expertise and our natural employers in an industry that, quite frankly, is dead now because of the gas prices. Right, it's in big trouble. It's big trouble everywhere. I was just at a compressor refrigeration site where they had this huge product where they did a ton of R&D to do some venting process for the gas explosions, and they're dead in sales. Everything's dead right now because of gas. Good news on this. Latest Gallup poll in August, right? I think August 9th it came out on this. And for years, we've been getting this bad rap about unions, right? The media and everyone else saying all these terrible things. what Gallup polls were not only Gallup polls, but and Brett, you know this, when they're polling for issues, right? When they're polling for issues and things that unions normally typically do, workers like those issues. It's when you put the word labor union attached to it, right, is where things start to kind of go downward. But they like that unions can get higher wages. They like that there's health care. They want employers to provide family leave. All the issues that unions deal with, workers and public opinion is skyrocket high. They want those things. They just don't equate it with unions. Exactly. Right. It doesn't make sense. It's that word. It's literally that word, right? That does it. But the latest Gallup poll actually used the word unions, right, in August, and we saw a jump. We saw an increase. And that we are favorable, right? People are saying, right, we're at 58% over the, jumped 5 percentage points, but 58% over the past year, and now it's its highest point since 2008. What happened in 2008?
The economy crashed.
Right. The economy crashed. So now since then, and they put a lot of blame on us.
Mhm.
Right, they blame the unions for 2008. Forget that the car industry, right? I mean, forget everything else, but they blamed us. So 2008, we're at the highest point of approval level since then. Now, I've been doing this for a long time, and we've gotten so many calls now from folks because even though the economy is bouncing back, we all know it, we say it, the rhetoric's there, workers aren't bouncing back, right? The money's in corporations and they're buying again and they're hiring again, but they're not raising income. And in fact, productivity, which I don't have in there, but you all have seen the slides, right? Productivity still has continued to increase from the American workers, whereas wages are stagnant.
We're making more steel now than we ever have.
Our problem on this for us is that the companies are now hoarding those monies, right? And they're requiring workers to work in unsafe conditions again, requiring overtime and putting those harsh conditions so that since 2008, when everyone was scared to death of their jobs because of the economy, now workers are saying, you know what, and they put up with a lot. Now they're saying, screw this. My employers bounce back. I've seen nothing, and they're still making me miss my family time. They're still making me do all this stuff. And so now unions, for the first time in many years, is back in favor. Andy?
The one thing that's happened lately over the last 2 weeks that are good as far as I'm concerned is, well, these CEOs like the peanut butter guy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
If you get those emails that said keep going,
Yeah.
make it anyway with, what was it, Volkswagen and Audi with
Right.
software, the chip software.
The guy with the bill didn't make corporations look very good either.
No,
yeah.
but the HIV.
And just so you know, the massive mine explosion CEO, he's going on trial
Yeah.
finally after 5 years.
Right.
Just blanking shit.
For a reason for
Yeah.
optimism, Maria,
Yeah.
don't you think with the shift in demographics that's happening and is going to happen, where more people are emigrating to this country from not necessarily communist, but more pro-union? I mean, our demographics are going to shift to the point where we're getting a lot more Hispanic people.
Let's take a look at that, right?
They're traditionally families are from pro-union families, and these are places where unions are thought of as good.
Let me go back. So it's who likes us, and I think that's really the question. The shifting the demographics are shifting. So it used to be, right? It was middle-aged, older white men from industrial beltway, northern states were pro-union. Almost every other classification, really, their numbers weren't that high, but that's who usually liked us. Now, what we've got, right, is who likes us? So if I look at the national adults, again, we're at 58%, so it's good. Men versus women. 63% of the women in this Gallup survey, right, like us versus men. What isn't in here, and I did this because I did this with D4, right, is where regions like us more. So here we've got our highest, which is East, is still in that upper North Beltway, but East, right, age group that likes us, 18 to 34 years old by 66%. So our demographics of the workforce in terms of the young. Some people want to know, especially our existing members, why are we putting so much attention on next gen? What's the reason behind it? We know in this room because it's the future workforce and because they like us, right? They like us. So we've got to put some attention in there.
Weren't the most states that saw the most union growth in the previous years also in the South, like Tennessee, Georgia, and
Texas? Yeah, so Texas and California, Alabama were places where they had it. And quite honestly, Texas has surpassed anybody's thought process. It's one of the reasons why we're looking at immigration reform, because the impact of being able to change Texas back to a blue state is very real if we get immigration reform in Texas. It's extremely real. And you know this better than I if you want to add some more comments about that. But
people have been paying Jeremy Bird a whole lot of money to try and turn Texas blue.
absolutely.
There's the funders like it, and it's a long-term strategy.
But what's happening, and it is a long-term strategy, what's happening, why unions are also focusing in there and in some of the southern states is because it's true, right? Even though the South hates us the most, where we've got the most potential for growth is the South on this.
Southern strategy of
Right. So Tafari Gabre, who's the new, well, they're not new anymore, but the vice president of the National AFL-CIO has put together a whole strategy on trying to get affiliates and unions to be looking at the southern states. There's even a specific state strategy for South Carolina, mainly because we're preparing for 2016 and Haley, right? Nikki Haley's got to go on this. And so there's going to be even a specific South Carolina strategy. Our growth, quite honestly, has been in the South. Unions aren't focusing a lot of attention on there except the UAW, right? So AFT in Texas and Louisiana and some of the other states, they're looking at both charter schools and representation rights for their teachers in there. So they're putting a lot of money, but they're public sector, putting a lot of money in the South on this. The other unions is UAW because of, right, Chattanooga and I'm sorry?
the transplants.
Yeah, all the transplant companies that have moved down to the South. I mean, all the companies that moved down to the South, right? Stan has insisted, and it's true, we've got five new tire companies that are opening up, and we've got to be focusing on them. All the companies are moving down there. And so IAM, because Boeing has moved their plants down there, IAM has now put a whole force and crew in the South to begin to do some Southern strategy there. Boeing and what's the other, not Airbus is there. And so those are two major targets of theirs in the South. They've got a whole crew there. IBEW is hiring like crazy for organizing, and they're putting some folks in the South predominantly around a lot of the installation pieces. But the trades unions, who we used to have a decent relationship with, now we're in wars with them, but the trades are moving into manufacturing industrial settings because they're losing. Not losing their membership, but their unemployment rates are just skyrocketing anymore in certain cities. And so they have moved, IBEW, operating engineers, several other trades unions are moving into the manufacturing production side of organizing. And there's a bunch of folks looking at, including the iron workers, looking at a Southern state strategy to be in there. Mine workers also are looking at the South and at the Southeast, Southwest. And on Native American lands is really where the mine workers are looking. So a lot of unions are starting to refocus not only their strategies, but their industries or their sectors, right, to try to stem their loss and continue to build growth. But back in here, the reason why more and more unions are putting people onto organizing is because, again, our numbers are increasing. We're focusing on regions where we've got some good potential, focusing on people like immigrants who are coming in, right? Immigrants and women and people of color, right? Because they like us. And they don't, though, traditionally tend to work in the manufacturing sectors, right? That's another reason why we look at not only where job growth is, but who's going into those jobs. And those people who are going to those jobs naturally like unions, right? So those are all the factors that we look at. So that's really the good news. We've got in our union a ton of different strategies that we're trying to pilot around here because we can't keep doing the same old. It hasn't worked in the 15 years that I've been here as well as we need it to, because we're still seeing that 2% decline, and there's no way we're organizing at those numbers. So right now we're sitting, I'll share with you the numbers I just shared with the board last week. Between internal and external organizing, we've got close to 8,000 members this year. We average about 9,600 new members, not internal, a year for the last 10 years. So our numbers aren't great. They're better than a lot of industrial unions on that, but they are nowhere near to the 50,000 a year that we're losing, right? Or 20,000 a year that we're losing. We really need to organize. And I think, John, I think that's what you want, is to really understand why we're putting a lot of attention on this, and why Leo, and I'm hoping to get Leo, keep Leo and the officers focused on organizing, but more importantly, on organizing using our strengths, talking to the people in the industries and the sectors who like us and who want unionization, and diversifying kind of our organizing staff, putting some of the most talented people in there, because we've got so much potential here. And I think that's the best news for me, is that we've got such great potential. And if we all just stay focused with our eyes on the prize, we won't, hopefully our pensions will be secure for whoever we need them. I know it took a lot longer. Sorry, Jeff.
So who in here has ever been on an organizing campaign? Like knocked on a door, looked at like some really angry person who you woke up from their nap and talked to them about joining the union. So, one idea that we have for this meeting is that, listen, every local and steelworkers union have an organizing committee. And we've had Fight Back Pittsburgh, which has done phenomenal work in this area with a lot of stuff. And we'd like to see ways that our local can get involved with organizing in our own backyard. Brother Jeff Check has spent a lot of time on doors and on those campaigns, and I'd just like him to talk for a few minutes about what that's like.
Sure. Yeah, we've been doing the Agile campaign here in Pittsburgh since 2011 now, and it's been really exciting to be organizing as steelworkers in a different sector, because we are the best union in the world. As we do this, several times we've reached out to people, especially in the building, and done blitzes, so single days where we go out and get as many people out the worst possible. But it's been really helpful. Just a couple months ago, we did one with the Women of Steel from Ohio. We did one with Leadership Scholarship that Guillermo helped out with. And these were really great. And so what I was hoping to do was to sort of talk about ways that we can get people involved with organizing from the local who are so that who are willing to do it, time every once in a while, instead of just doing like a one-off thing. And with that in mind, we were talking about maybe doing a day or two of training about like having the organizing conversation. When you knock on someone's door, what are you supposed to say? And how's that conversation supposed to go ideally, right? How do you get somebody to sign a union card? And then, it's also the other end of that is like, how do you choose a target? What's a good place to organize? How do you identify who a leader in the workplace is? Stuff like that. So there's a lot to do, and we're wondering if folks would be interested in doing a 2 Saturday training thing, like maybe end of October, November, something like that.
For sure.
Saturday,
Talk to your president.
a Saturday.
Well, this would be for the local, like this clear volunteer opportunity.
Well, I'm assuming it would obviously take more than 1 year. This is
Right. So we're talking about
a brown bag type thing wouldn't work because it's only an hour.
This meeting is to test the waters, to see the interest, and it's great to see you all here, and hopefully we can get a few more people to turn out. These trainings are intense, like they're long. Now, we went through some of like the early stuff already with Maria, where we talked about the importance, and I think we also need for that. I mean, it's why we do this work, right? Some of you really feel a calling to do this work. It is a Saturday, or one scenario is like a Saturday or a Sunday, and maybe if we prayed to the gods and the stars aligned, they would give us lost time for Friday. I don't know. But we are thinking about training scenarios where we could get people trained up like Jeff was talking about, and we could play a role in some of these campaigns in our own backyard.
And when we do these sorts of trainings for our activists on an organizing campaign or something like that, it's typically a day-long thing. So, you know, instead of doing a grueling 6-hour Saturday or something like that, you know, I think it would be better to split it up and do like 2 Saturday mornings, so that people don't hate themselves by the end of the day.
Well, the training that we do is 2.5 to 3 days,
And it's grueling.
and it is grueling. It's 2.5 to 3 days. If you're talking about 2 Saturday mornings, you're gonna get through 1/4 of the training. So it's up, that's,
And the reason I brought that up, so just making the point, I was aware of that. It's very expensive. Again, this is what the organizers, this isn't the type of thing that you can just spend an hour on and then you go know what you're doing. That's the reason I brought it.
Yeah, I think ideally what we do is just do this training at the end, you know, get some involvement, you know, maybe on the 3rd day, go out and do the house calls or something like that. Put your skills to use.
Yeah, I think you can make it whatever like is supposed to be, and someone who's serious about completing the training is going to go for a whole Saturday and do it because they're serious. Like I don't think we need to play on people's laziness here.
You end up liking it. We have language in our contract that will allow you to go organize.
Right.
How often does that get utilized? I mean, I know we've seen other locals and folks are getting pulled
I know
out.
somebody that tried to utilize that.
So, in my short tenure, no one has approached me about it. I'm not aware if in the previous leadership of the local that was done at all. I'm not.
there were, since the language has been in place, I've had a few calls from 3657 members who've expressed interest. They didn't know about the language, and I said, use the language, but go through the local. And then there's been a couple of folks who approached me out of the building, and we've attempted some things, but it really should go through the local.
Yeah, so if folks are interested, that is something we can try. I mean, I left that meeting last year very angry because I felt like we were getting yelled at. And
Welcome to my world,
we're gonna
brother.
change the culture of this place, and I haven't seen much happen. But I think this is a way that our local can show the international, listen, we understand how this important is, not just for the labor movement in general, but for our own jobs. And we want to play a role in that. And so we're tying this in with sort of an education campaign. We've gotten the international to send 3 people to the Organizing Institute, and we hope that when some other things turn around, we'll get other people to attend other trainings with the Organizing Institute at Cornell, stuff like that. Not promising anything, but that is going to become a priority to local.
I just would point out too that that we're in Pittsburgh, we do choose some new and different stuff. We're actually trying things out, and so we get to do things that before it goes out into the field, before every organizer has access to certain tools, we can try them out here. So, can I tell them about the chat?
Absolutely.
So, the NLRB just did a ruling that said that we can now do electronic union cards. And so, by way of text message or web form, we can fill out a union authorization card, right? So, we no longer have to have a physical signature from someone. So, now we're organizing at Chatham University, and we're going to be testing the waters with this. And we have a text message system in place where people get our number and they text the word Chatham to the steelworkers, and they get an automatic reply back that says, thank you for choosing that steelworkers as your collective bargaining representative. We need more information and what's your name, your address, your phone number, that sort of thing. They sort of text back and forth with this automated mechanism, and at the end of the process, they've signed a union card. They do it while they're on the door. It's fantastic. So, these are the things that we can try out and see how it goes.
Why not?
No, we're probably starting in a week or so. We've been getting the back end prepared and getting our messaging ready. But I think that,
It's ready to go.
yeah, when the rollout happens, it'll be exciting to see how it goes and whether or not we screw it up the first time and just try something radically different next time. But this is because we're in Pittsburgh, we get to try these things, so it's a lot of fun.
I know you have other, some people going out on either campaign. Do people need to do a training before they get involved? You know, going out,
Ideally, I think what we'd like to do is try to get people some training before we send people cold into the doors. What we found with the single day of organizing training that we had with folks, with Women of Steel, especially, was that we had a lot of success. Right, we overwhelmingly were successful on the contact card ratio stayed the same for the most part, but it would be better to send people out with some training and something like cold. And I think in part it's because these folks have that day of training before. Just sending people cold without giving them how do you do a house call instruction at least at a minimum is I think doing them a disservice and also can end up creating confusion for the people on the other end of the door when they have questions that they don't have any answers to, or things like that. So,
just in terms of scheduling, if we were to schedule this, the first one, in the last Saturday in October, that would give us an opportunity at the local union meeting to have you maybe spend 10 minutes. So we get a few more people, not many more, we get a few more people to local meeting.
I knew that on the blast.
Oh, that's Halloween? Oh, that is Halloween. I was just thinking it because if more of our membership hear this message, or at least a truncated version, then you may get even more response for this. Because most people here sound like they're so going with training.
My one critique of Maria's PowerPoint
Yeah.
is that you can. Yeah, I heard one person say, what happened, and when the question was answered, like what happened, someone said right to work, right?
That was me.
Right. Right to work is a red herring in my opinion. Right. Most of the states that are right to work, what right to work in the 40s. This is not a new situation. So we need to find finding right to work is not the answer. Right?
Send it that way.
New ways to get people going to the union. Not about there is no political restriction. It's got to be done door to door, face to face. Revolution will not be.
So we have a paper circulating. If you're interested in getting involved in this, sign up, and we'll try and get more interest, and then we'll start trying to get something scheduled and arranged. So we can play a role in this. Right now, we are organizing graduate students at the University of Pittsburgh.
Yes, graduate employees. Look, at the Pitt, what Jeff alluded to, or said outright, he didn't allude to it, is that except for Pitt, right, it's a potential between the faculty and the graduate employees. We're looking at 5,000 to 7,000 members, steelworker members, right, at that one employer on that campus. So it's a huge deal that's going to take us a while, but it's a huge deal. And we have never organized grad employees. So this is one of these new trial things that Jeff, and I'm running that myself because we've never done it, right? So
it's very interesting. My brother was a graduate employee at Ohio State, and he and I had many conversations about basically it's like slave labor
it is.
university.
Yep.
And a lot of people are immigrants, and they are expected to work 16-hour days, and all they get is a stipend. At the time, he made $23,000 a year, and he has 3 kids and a wife. So he was on welfare while he was researching a cure for cancer.
And 23 grand is a lot of money. It's a lot more than what they almost make.
Most people get
The intimidation is unreal because you have one person who's in charge of your entire career.
Sure.
And so it's huge. That's amazing news.
Tyler is here. I don't know if he introduced himself. He's not a 3657 member, but
I am a member of the Community College of Beaver County, and for the next 3 weeks, I'm helping Jeff out with the Chatham campaign.
cool. So, and he lives that world. First as a grad student, now employed, right now as an adjunct. Yes, we just got a contract. Yeah, it hasn't been ratified yet, but we've got a final TA. Ratification hopefully will happen by the end of the month. 23% wage increase over the life of the contract. Next year will be a 10% increase in 1 year time period. They had not seen a raise in 10 years, but 4% over a 10-year period up to this contract. There's a whole bunch of stuff that they got, which quite honestly will hopefully, it won't be a radical change, but it's the first step to some real changes in their working conditions, monthly labor management meetings, a kill fee for classes, which they, you know, for all the classwork that they did, and then they, due to low enrollment, cancel your class, and they got no money for all that prep work. So there's a lot of good things in the contract. So
Cool.
yeah. And for those who want to be excited, I'll tell you, the Pitt grad employee organizing is really exciting. There's a lot of young folks.
Oh my gosh, they're so young. I walked in there and was
Molly
like,
talking.
where am I?
It's Molly talking.
I never go to Oakland, and I walked in and I was like, did I go? Am I like, I'm old. That's all.
They are a fun group, and it's going to be, I think, a fun campaign.
I met someone at a party recently who's like so excited to work with you.
Yay.
Meeting, Rio's there, so sweet.
Yeah,
You're like their local celebrity. They were like, we don't know if Maria's coming. She doesn't normally come to these things. And I was like, okay.
I went to theirs because it was a special one. But yeah, it's going to be a fun group. We're going to have a good time together.
Any final questions, comments, concerns?
Can I just get real in the room now that it's closed?
Should I turn the video off?
Yeah, can you?
Yeah. Sorry.
I'll do what